Hello? I didn't know I was going to have a microphone. Um, that makes it even harder for me now. It's funny because this past week I've been praying about what am I going to say, because it's not my first time in front of people telling my story. It's my first time telling it in church. I've been a member of AA for 15 years, on and off. And, I'm not going to talk so much about my addiction. I mean, I am. But I'm going to talk about my history in recovery. And most of my history in recovery, God was not involved at all. In fact, I rejected God. And all the years of AA never worked for me. And the reason why is because I never allowed that God part of the program. It's funny because on the way over here, my wife was telling me, well, before you even left the house, she was, are you nervous? No, I'm good. I'm good. But all week, my words were changing, though. I didn't know what I was going to say. Because yesterday, it was a completely different thing, what I was going to say, what I'm saying now. I go, the only thing that I can think of being nervous is what I'm going to be saying, because it keeps on changing. And then yesterday, Sunday at church, there were so many things that just were thrown at me that made me just think about different other things. And it changed again today. So, she's, oh, you're nervous? Yeah, you are. You're nervous. I go, no, I'm not. I'm not. Am I nervous? No, I'm not nervous. And I'm the kind of guy that it has to be perfect, whatever I do. Whatever I plan, I have to have it together, and it has to go right. She knows all about it. I drive her crazy. And it's funny because the first thing when I get into it, I'm going to be talking about that. And it's funny that things didn't go very well on our way over here. So I picked up my friend, picked up Sammy. We go to Total like we do every time before we come to church, and we get coffee. I took time to iron my shirt, to look nice, presentable, and all this kind of stuff. They didn't even wear it because I don't want it wrinkled until I get up here. So we pull out a Total, and the coffee is 16 ounces tall. Well, she decides when she reverses it, she destroys the cup and coffee's all over the place. And then I used my shirt that I ironed and soaked up all the coffee. So now we have to rush back home, get another shirt, this one right here. And, I'm like, okay, you just told me I wasn't nervous. I said I wasn't nervous a while ago. I'm nervous now because now I don't know what to do because now all my ducks are not lined up anymore. Things aren't perfect. But it's funny, though, because I'm going to be talking about that from the get-go right now. And she has tears in her eyes. I go, it's all right. It's just an accident. It's just an accident. But she was more nervous thinking, oh, my God, are you going to act out now? And, things aren't going well now. All of us, we're not even at church yet. But, I'm not going to let that get to me, though. And I prayed about it, took a deep breath, and it's fine. I want to start off with Psalms 2-5. It says, bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgives all your iniquities, who heals all your diseases, who redeems your life from destruction, who crowns you with loving kindness and tender mercies, who satisfy your mouth with good things, so that your youth is renewed like the eagles. And I didn't bring my glasses either. Oh, that's wonderful. So I'm going to start off with something in the book of AA, and I'm not going to turn this into an AA meeting, but there's something in there, though, that what I was just talking about my ducks were lined up in a row coming over here. And there's a section in the book, it talks about the actor. And it's only a few paragraphs, bear with me, okay? Most people try to live by self-propulsion. Each person is like an actor who wants to run the whole show. Is forever trying to arrange the lights, the ballot, the scenery, and the rest of the players in his own way. If his arrangements would only stay put, if only people would do as he wished, the show would be great. Everybody, including himself, would be pleased. Life would be wonderful. In trying to make these arrangements, our actor may sometimes be quite virtuous. He may be kind, considerate, patient, generous, even modest and self-sacrificing. On the other hand, he may be mean, egotistical, selfish, and dishonest. But many, as with most humans, he is more likely to have varied traits. What usually happens? The show doesn't come off very well. He begins to think life doesn't treat him right. He decides to exert himself more. He becomes on the next occasion still more demanding or gracious, as the case may be. Still, the play does not suit him. Admitting he may be somewhat at fault, he is sure that other people are more to blame. He becomes angry, indignant, self-pitying. What is his basic trouble? Is he not really a self-seeker even when trying to be kind? Is he not a victim of the delusion that he cannot wrest satisfaction and happiness out of his world if he only manages well? It is not evident to all the rest of the players that these are the things he wants. And do not his actions make each of them wish to retaliate, snatching all that can get out of the show? He is not even in his best moments, a producer of confusion rather than harmony. Our actor is self-centered, egocentric, as people like to call it nowadays. He is like the retired businessman who lolls at the Florida sunshine in the winter complaining about the sad state of the nation. The minister who sighs over the sins of the 20th century. Politicians and reformers who are sure all won't be utopia if the rest of the world would only behave. The outlaw safecracker who thinks society has wronged him. And the alcoholic who has lost all and is locked up, what even our protestations are not most of us concerned with ourselves, our resentments, and our self-pity. Selfishness, self-centeredness, that's what we think is the root of our troubles. Driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity, we step on the toes of our fellows and they retaliate. Sometimes they hurt us, seemingly without provocation, but we invariably find that at some time in the past we have made decisions based on self which later placed us in a position to be hurt. So our troubles, we think, are basically of our own making. They arise out of ourselves and the alcoholic or addict as an extreme example of self-will run riot. Self-will, it says that right there. When I try to, take over and try to run the show, it never goes well. It never has. I've always wanted to do things my way, and I've been told before, Robert, you've been doing it your way for such a long time. How's it been going? Not very well. And the thing is, though, how many of you can relate to something like that? You know what I mean? How many times have you tried, if things just go right, it'll be a perfect world, you know what I mean? Just do what I say. Don't you understand? Things will be great. Listen to me, sweetheart. If we just do this, then this won't happen. It's so easy to take other people's inventory and not take our own. You know what I mean? And people that do that are usually spiritually bankrupt. They could talk a good word, they know how to read. Wow, congratulations, But do they live it? Education. I'm already not even going through my notes yet. I'm just picking this stuff up and ask the Lord, whatever comes out, comes out. You could do all the schooling you want. You can read all you want. And you can think you're as smart as you want to be smart. But you know what? You're taking the information, other people's information, other thoughts, other ideas, and you're making them your own. But you have to apply them to make them real. Anyways, so I'm going to talk about myself. I'm ready to tell on myself because that's what I'm going to be doing. And that was the actor. I like that story. I've always read it because I can relate to it so well. Being so self-centered and selfish and all that kind of stuff. My name is Robert Rivera. That's how you say my name. And now I'm getting nervous. I don't know why. I think a little coffee on me would be a good icebreaker, but I was born in Los Angeles, California. I was exposed to Catholicism at an early age because I'm Mexican and most Mexicans are Catholics. I was an altar boy when I was very young. Didn't know why. My grandmother forced me to go to church in the morning, and I'm not fluent in Spanish, so I don't know why she sent me to Spanish Mass. I don't understand a word, and she's always telling me, well, God knows your heart. Just go to church. Well, that don't make no sense at all to me, but all right. Just to make my grandmother happy, My home living is typical. I was exposed to everything, drugs and all that kind of stuff that a lot of you could relate to. Dysfunctional family. There was no rules. There was nothing like that. And I was also exposed growing up, living in Los Angeles, with gangs and all that. And what's sad about the whole thing is when you grow up in something like that, you think it's normal. It's not like what you see on TV. It's going to be cool if you're part of a gang and all that. When you have generations of family that live like that, your own uncles and cousins, and you grow up being like that, you look up to stuff like that. And then you also grow up thinking that's normal. There's nothing normal about that. And but I'm gonna fast forward because I don't want to stay stuck on that because, that's I don't drown out on myself on stuff like that. It just there's no purpose behind it. It's retarded, to tell you the truth to me. My mom was she was all into her church like this one, Pentecostal Christian. They did everything there, speak in tongues and drop to the floor and all that. And it was weird for me as 8, 9 years old. She was very active with her church. I've always thought that I knew God, but in all honesty, though, as I only knew God because of my mother. I was forced to go to church. So I figured because she was saved, I was saved. But I didn't know nothing about it, though. So I could say that even though with all the dysfunction, family dysfunction, all that kind of stuff, I had a good childhood, though. I mean, there was no abuse on me or anything like that. Or I saw a lot of alcohol, saw a lot of drugs, and a lot of drug addicts in the neighborhood, a lot of winos hanging out at the corner store. I would go to play video games when I was a little boy, and I'll be going in the store, and there's some of the guys my uncle's age, and they'll be like, "Hey, mijo, come here fast. Come here. I remember when you used to be this big. You have a quarter?" And that's how it was where I lived at. Or going to the neighborhood gym and see a bunch of guys in a circle all sharing a needle. I had no idea what it was. They would just scoop me away. "Get away. You don't want to see this." And that's the kind of stuff I was exposed to when I was a kid. And I didn't think nothing of it. Well, anyways, back to my mom's church. When I was 9 years old, she married the drummer of the church. And they had my baby sister. And, fast forward, when she was about to give birth to my baby sister, she went into a coma giving birth to my baby sister. She went into a coma. My sister was stillborn. They revived her. And then they worked on my mother, and they revived her, but she was without oxygen to the brain too long, and she was in a coma. And pretty much she stayed in a coma for 27 years, and she passed away not that long ago. And then, but that time in the hospital, all the people from her church and the pastor and all of them, they were all there. Over 50 people holding hands, praying for, we spend the night in the hospital. But slowly, though, as months went by, people disappeared. They didn't come around. They didn't visit, yada, yada, yada. And they all vanished, including the pastor. Never seen him again. Don't know what happened and all that. And so I had this bad taste in my mouth, and I started gaining resentments towards them and God. And where is God now in all this? What was this? All this stuff that, they're praying about. And I didn't understand it at such a young age. After that, things went downhill for me. I got older. I got more involved in the neighborhood, started doing things I shouldn't be doing. And I'm not going to get into that. But then I started getting introduced to drugs and alcohol. And then my grandmother pretty much got tired of it. So she picked us up, and we moved out of Los Angeles, and we moved north to Palmdale, California. That's in the Mojave Desert. And Palmdale is known back then for crystal meth. It used to be the capital back in early 2000s, late 1900s or something. And I got introduced to that, and I was bad for a while. I got out of the gang scene and all that. I outgrew that stuff, and then I started getting into raves and parties and all that kind of stuff. So then I got introduced to like psychedelic drugs and stuff like that. But I never thought of myself as a drug addict. I was a drug user, and I experimented and yada, 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 so on. But during this whole time, that what happened to my mother, I was pushing myself away from God more and more and more. I never thought about God after a while, in and out of my mind. So when I was 18, 19 years old, I met a man. He was an artist, and I was an artist. And he worked in the Palmdale Mall, and he casted hands out of plaster. If you've ever been to the Fall Festival at Robert's Cave, he has a booth, and he does casting out of plaster, your hand. And he lives here today in Wilburton, and that's the reason why I moved to Oklahoma, was because of him. And he was asking me, "Are you willing to travel?" I said, "Yeah." And I'm thinking maybe San Francisco is the farthest I'm going to go. I didn't think I was going to leave out of state. I never left out of state. I never left California. I never left Los Angeles. I've always been in Southern California. And then all of a sudden, I took off for 3.5 months, and I traveled by myself. I was 19 years old, 20. Bought my uncle's RV, and I just took off. And I hit 31 states for 3.5 months by myself. I've never been by myself. I drank a lot because I was bored. And still, God was nowhere around. He was there, but I rejected him the whole way through. I'm trying not to get stuck on certain things. That's why I have this all written out, because I could drown in one area too long. I got a DUI when I was 21 in Michigan, got thrown in jail, so I know what a Michigan jail looks like. And still, no God, no thanking him for getting out and leaving that state. After it was all over, I'm back in Palmdale, and things are different. 3.5 months to me felt like forever. And when I got back to California, they had a barbecue for me at my grandmother's house, and she has a swimming pool, and I'm sitting there by myself while everyone's having a good time. And my sister came up to me, and she said, what's wrong with you? I don't know what you're talking about. She says, everyone's having a good time. They're here for you. Why aren't you having a good time? I'm like, I'm having a good time. She goes, no, something's wrong with you. What's up? I said, I don't know. Just everyone seems different now. I don't know what it is. It's just, since I've been back, everyone just seems like, I don't know, they're different. And she told me, she says, no one's different. Everyone's the same. She goes, the only one that changed is you since you've been back. And she says, because you've been exposed out there where most of them never been outside California before. Because when I was in 31 states, I saw different kinds of walks of life, cultures, and even hung out with Amish people for a while. I mean, it was all weird to me. And after that, I got into, I didn't stop drinking. I still was doing drugs, and I still didn't want to hear about God. And then I started doing construction. I became a carpenter. And I started building log houses up in the mountains in California for years. And one of my bosses, and he was also a pastor as well, besides being my boss, we would have conversations all the time. And he never tried to preach to me, but he would have conversations with me. And he wasn't trying to, he didn't try to save me or anything, though. He just wanted to know what was on my mind and why I thought the way I thought. And I just loved talking to him because he didn't attack me on stuff like that. And but after a while, I was still on drugs and everything, and I was with my ex at the time, and she found out I was on dope and everything, and she didn't want to live in Palmdale anymore. And she gave me an ultimatum: do you want to leave with me, or do you want to stay here? Well, I knew if I would have stayed, I probably would have died. I was that bad on it. So I picked up and I left, and I moved to Florida. And I didn't know it, but I know it now that I was just running away. And I thought I was going to start a new life. And I did. Cold turkey, I didn't do no more dope or anything, but my drinking took off. I became an alcoholic quick and didn't even see it coming, because alcohol was the last thing I thought was going to take me out. And so I knew that I needed to do something, but I knew it wasn't God. And I keep saying this because this is what happened the whole time. Most of my recovery time, I rejected God. And you know, and then I got introduced to AA. And I was sitting around a bunch of people, and it was strange to me because I don't know what to expect. And I'm in a room about just as many as you know, but they were all walks of life. There was doctors, there was lawyers, there's East Coast mobsters, there's all different kind of people that would not hang out with each other, but they all had something in common and a common goal. And then I saw the 12 steps on the wall and all that kind of stuff. All I said was God, 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 God. I was like, oh, man. Then a basket was being passed around, and I was like, man, I might as well just go to church. And guys were trying to help me out. And I bounced around in those rooms for so long, but I couldn't manage to stop drinking. And I didn't understand why. It's because I didn't want to do the 12 steps. I don't want to talk to my sponsor. I definitely didn't want to pray. I was trying to find an alternative solution instead of God. And then they started making it more confusing for me, because I'm already confused about one God, and now they're telling me to put my higher power into a doorknob, a flashlight. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's not going to work for someone like me. And so I would manage to stay sober here and there, but then I always go back to drinking. I'm always mad, never said nothing, just listening to people just put their dirty laundry out there for everyone to see. And I was like, oh my God, I would never say nothing like that. Ever say anything, some of the things I heard. And it didn't take much after that I started spilling my guts out to everybody. And like, oh, did I just say that? I guess I did. Anyways, it got so bad that my old relationship, we split up, and she kept the house. I moved out, packed up 2 duffel bags and my guitar, and I left. I tried to hang out for about another 8 months, but I just couldn't survive in Florida. And I was going to move back to Los Angeles, and I'm a mess. And I managed to stop going to meetings, stop talking to the people in the meetings, because I knew them for about 7, 8 years since I lived there. And I remember being stuck in a hotel. And for a week, I was binge drinking. I didn't eat. I pretty much was killing myself. And I managed to pick up the phone, and I talked to a lady that had been in the program for like 25 years. And she said, "Where are you at?" I told her, I don't really remember too much. And she pretty much rescued me out of the hotel, and I pretty much was just ready to die. And, hold on real fast. You know, I've always prided myself as not stealing, not being a thief, not being this, not being that. And what do you call it? But I never really thought it through about being a thief could mean different things. To steal, and I looked it up, and it says to take without permission. But there's also another meaning to it too, though, that I learned. Stealing just doesn't mean just taking someone else's possession, but you can also steal so many things like trust from your family, hope, happiness, peace, and so on. And when I came to realize this, I found out I was a thief. And, you know, those steps, though, one of them, step 4, is you have to pull out the dirt out of you. And I didn't want to do that. A lot of people go back to their addiction after step 4 because they can't manage to really dig deep at what's inside themselves. Because I thought my drinking was the problem. Drinking wasn't my problem. It's just a symptom of what's really going on inside of me. I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't come to AA for all this. I just came to drink like a normal person. And you want me to dig up my past? I didn't sign up for that. And I lost a lot of sponsors because of that. I've been fired by sponsors, and I fired sponsors. I got hired by sponsors. And it went on and on and on, and they called me on a lot of my stuff. And and then it was a gentleman that told me one time, he said, just know that there's a God. And, you know, I'm still rejecting God. I don't want to hear nothing about God. He goes, just know there's a God because you're not it. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever that means. And so I started giving it a chance, but I would pray, but did I mean it, though, deep down inside? No, I didn't. I did it because I was asked to do it. And then I would stay sober for a while, and I'll pat myself on the back. Look I got a month of sobriety. Look at me. Woo-hoo, let's have a party. And, you know, and I said this before. I think I shared this with you, is that you can't rest on your laurels. And laurels is an achievement that they would give you for like in the Olympics or something like that. You know, with the leaf kind of headband. That's a laurel. But they would give it to you for achievements that you won and stuff like that. Well, my point is that you can't rest on your laurels. What I mean by that is that you can't stay sober on last week's sobriety. It's a maintenance program. You have to continually do this. You know, and that's when I learned that, you know, I was like, what? You can't stop doing it. You know, when I hear about graduation, the only graduation I ever heard by old timers in the program was that when you graduate is when you're 6 feet deep and you die sober. That's graduation. And I was like, oh man, that's a long time. Well, maybe it's not a long time. I don't know. Anyways, so I moved from Florida and I moved here to Oklahoma. Then I started going to school in Wilburton. I started in Wilburton, going to meetings out there. Still drinking. One relationship after the other, just toxic, and got thrown in jail for a DUI. I managed to get out of jail, go back to school, and get my associate's degree. And then I moved to Tahlequah, and I was still in the AA program, still going to meetings, but I didn't want to do God. I didn't want to hear nothing about it. And then I started going to school at NSU, still drinking heavily, still don't know what to do with myself. And I didn't finish school because, well, my drinking is what took over. And with only 15 credits left, I would have got my bachelor's degree. I'm getting lost now, but what I want to say is that without God, I couldn't do anything, nothing. I tried to look for solutions in everything else but God. I read every alternative thing about creation, about another version of God. But the Bible, it just wasn't going to do it for me. Because the Bible, there was just too many things in there that there weren't enough answers, more questions than anything. And I just can't buy into some of the stuff. And I fought with it for so long. Until after I was done with Tahlequah, I met my wife. Came to beautiful Stigler, Oklahoma. Everyone should come here at least once because they'll know they'll never come back. I like it here. I'm here. What she said, yeah. And but I was still drinking. We were both drinking, and no God still. And then we started telling each other, man, we need to get ourselves right. We need to get ourselves right. We're kidding ourselves pretty much. So we started going to churches in Stigler just to check them out, to the Baptist church, and be like, man, this ain't for us. If I have to look at my watch every minute, that's not the church for me. I'm sorry. And then we kept on drinking, fighting, and we have a 15-year-old stepdaughter, and I do, and she's seeing all these beer cans every day when she comes home from school. Tall cans, always empty. I mean, when you're not drinking, it smells like rotted beer in the house, and you don't know it because you're always drunk and everything. And she never said nothing. She would just, and we would talk about it, like, is this what we want her to see, to be exposed to, like we did when we were growing up? And we got into a bad fight one day. And we had people there that I didn't want to be there. We tried to help them out, but all they did was abuse the situation, trying to help them out. And we couldn't get rid of them. I was trying to get rid of them, and we got in a fight about it. The fight was so bad that she called the cops, and she got a restraining order on me. I never had a restraining order on me, so I don't know how serious that is. So when the cops escorted me out of the house, I forgot my wallet, so I went back to the house just to look for my wallet. She told them, well, he went back to the house. So guess what? I took a vacation to county jail right here. It's cleaner than LA County, trust me. And then I met this guy right here, Alex, in jail. He came into my life, and he was the most calm, collective guy that was in there. I remember him reading a Western book or something like that. And all I could do that whole time I was there was just draw. Just draw. I'm an artist. Every time I go to jail, I was the jail artist all the time. Everybody wanted me to decorate their envelopes so they could send to their kids or something. I was bartering with everybody. Everyone gave me something. Even the, not there, but the other jail in Wimbledon, they thought I was bullying the other inmates. Like, what are you doing, Rivera? Are you bullying? I go, no, I'm just. But anyways, when I got out of jail, we made up. She took the restraining order off of me. We both regret what we did. And then that's when we started really, really trying to get serious about we got to make a change in our lives. And that's when I spoke to Alex again on the outside, and he invited me to this church. Now, remember I told you my mom's church was just like this church, loud. This is a loud church. I love it. I love this church. Oh, my God. I was like, my people. You know what I mean? I'm like, Jesus, I want to jump. I'm not even saved yet. I'm excited. You just see the look on my wife's face. She's like, where are we? I don't know, but I don't want a beer right now. Maybe later, but not right now. And I'm still like going through withdrawals, but I'm like, oh, shoot. Whoa, we're in church, oh, Lord, I'm sweating this out. God's making me sweat it out now. But we didn't stop drinking. I don't want to say tapering off because we didn't taper off. But we were very excited, though. And see, on the way over here the first time, Alex warned us. He goes, I'm just letting you know, they're kind of loud over there. I'm like, yeah. See, now I'm getting comfortable now. I'm getting too comfortable now. Well, good, though, because that's the way it should be. I don't need that piece of paper. And see, Shonda wasn't raised in the church. Her mom didn't force her to go to church or anything. She knew nothing about God, knew nothing about the Bible. And to see the way she is now, I'm like, man, she inspires me. I love that woman. She gets on my nerves, but I love that she gets, because you know what? Because I need to be tested. I need to be tried. And she does that. Well, she does. And she doesn't even know it. She goes, what did I do? I go, nothing yet, but I know you're going to do something. And then we started coming here more, but I told you, we didn't stop drinking. I didn't. And she didn't drink as heavy as I did. I was bad, really bad. But, this isn't a competition. I'm not trying to outdo anybody else's addiction or nothing. This is my story. I don't get impressed by other people and what you've done, whatever. That's your story. I just want to see you succeed in this, because it's an ugly thing. You could tell me your war stories all day long, but I could do the same thing walking into a bar and talk to the next guy and just lie to him how bad I am. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear your war stories. I don't care. What I do care about is what you're going to do about it now. And so my wife and I, we were drinking, and I was sitting on the couch one day, and I needed a beer. And, Top Value is right there by my house, so I used to always buy beer for them. They used to see me at 7 a.m. every morning getting at least 7 tall cans, 24-ounce cans every day. That's what I used to down every day, every single day, to get started. And I'm sitting there one day, and I'm like, trying not to drink. But the worst thing that an alcoholic could do is just stop cold turkey. Very dangerous. And all of a sudden, I don't remember this, but I blacked out. I had a seizure. Never had a seizure in my life. And she said it only lasted 3 minutes. She said, what she told me, what she saw was that I put my hands up and I swung my back towards the couch. My eyes rolled back. But I guess during this time when this happened, I blacked out. I must have had, I believe it was a vision, and I'll tell you what it is. When this happened, I thought that my jaw was closed, and I had my hands trying to pry my mouth open to breathe. And when I came to, I don't know what happened. I don't remember anything. She told me that my eyes rolled back. I bit down on my tongue, and people here see my tongue. Blood was coming out. I almost bit my tongue off. That's how bad my tongue is. I was actually worried about talking to you guys without spitting, because I've been spitting more now that I'm talking because my tongue's like halfway off. And she also said that I was foaming from the mouth. She called the paramedics. I talked her into calling them back and not take that trip. I'm not paying $400 for a taxi ride. And I told her what I saw in my dream, because I thought it literally happened. I thought it really happened. That I tried to pry my mouth open and my jaw was just closed. She says, you didn't do anything like that. She goes, you did stop breathing. You were turning blue. And I started thinking about that because I don't remember anything like that. And I could have sworn that that's what happened, that I tried to pry my mouth open. And the thing is, I've been in for such a long time and so many years of giving up on life. Didn't care if I died or what happened to me. Not that I focused on dying. It's just I just didn't care what happened. Whatever happens, happens. That's how I looked at life. So as much as I used to always think that, I believe that God gave me another chance, because this vision or whatever it was, I'm trying to pry my mouth open to gasp for air. And I think God was telling me, I feel that God was telling me, you got a chance. You want to live or do you want to die? And when I try to pry my mouth open, that's when I made that decision. I want to live. And when I came to, I was like, what happened? Blood and drool and all that. Like, what? After that, we haven't drank since, and we've been here at this church every day. Never missed a church. And I realized that the whole time that I was out there, because I traveled a lot, not just state to state, but I've been in Europe, I've been to Egypt, I've been to Greece, I've been to Italy, I've been to England, a few other places. And everywhere I went, there was always something missing. Even though I appreciated going to these places, I was looking for answers in other places, and they weren't there. The answer was always inside me. He was always right there, but I refused to reach out my hand to him. And you know what? I did not know it was going to take Stigler, Oklahoma to find God. And you know what? In AA, we claim that we're recovering from alcohol. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I don't say that anymore. Because through Christ, I have recovered.
Somebody
Yeah, that wasn't the song that I wanted. But after last night, though, that just reached me and just grabbed a hold of me. I was like, that is perfect. And not just for me, but I think that could speak to everybody here. I mean, because, one of the things that I was praying about this past week is because when I get excited, even though with all good intentions, even good intentions don't work out. I didn't want to make it about myself because I can make it about myself very easily. So I prayed, Lord, push me away to the side. And what can I say? I don't want to teach. I don't want to preach. I'm just going to speak my experience with recovery without God and my recovery with God. And I'm learning. I'm always going to remain a student. And he said that yesterday that I've always said, is I'm always going to remain a student, because when you stop being a student, you won't learn from that point on. And I love that. Every time he says something, I'm like, man, I heard that in AA. That's awesome. But you know what, though? It just, I'm glad, I'm happy I found the Lord with my wife, especially with my wife, to share that with somebody. That's amazing. And I'm going to end it with this, okay? And I'll just say it, and that's all I have. I lift up my hands. I lift them to you. I admit that I'm powerless. I'm finally through. Through with it all, because I'm out of control. This way of living has taken its toll. Restore me, God, and help me to see that your power is great, greater than me. I made up my mind. I decided to give my will and my life in order to live. All of my memories I have long pushed away are here at my doorsteps. Immediately I start to pray. Dear God, forgive me for all the wrong I have done. This list will go on. I've only begun. I confess to you, and I also say to me, the exact nature of my wrongs is in order to be free. Please, God, fix what I have broken. Here is my heart. Take as a token. Take away the worst thoughts out of me. Fill me with love so I can see. My slate is clean. It's time to go out and make my amends to those I had doubt. When I am wrong, Lord, help me to see the errors of my ways so I can make corrections within me. When I pray unto you for the knowledge and power to carry that through. Give me the strength to share your message to others, to all my loved ones, my sisters and brothers. So I hope you listened and came to discovery, because what I just read you was God's 12 step to recovery. Thank you. Oh, I kind of messed up a few here, but don't forget that.